And they are green, and we are away off of the line here at Donington Park. A few slow starters, especially in the back, as we head towards turn number 1. Is it going to be Brown going for the inside of Johansson? No, it was on the outside as he tried to get an overlap there. It is Johansson in the lead, Brown on the outside, Stephen Hurd trying to follow through. On the inside line, Matt Neal had a very poor launch off the start, down straight away. That is side by side for the lead. Thomas Brown on the outside into the old hairpin, going for the switch across, and Thomas Brown moves into the lead of the race with Stephen Hurd getting past Johansson, Dan Mould getting past Johansson. A poor old hairpin there from Johansson down the positions. Gets past Paisley Knight, and there's contact with Heron. Heron dies up the inside of Paisley Knight, and Paisley Knight's season from contact at Oldham Park has continued here. Contact at Donington. It's different lines being attempted here. Matt Neal trying to recover after starting so far up the order. He's in 10th position, and that's a slide from Oliver Heron. He's off at the final chicane. He cuts that chicane, will have a slowdown. For one, it's Ahmed just behind, and around the outside is Hallworth. This is the fight going on right now for 8th position as Heron holds on to 8th position in that Halfords machine. Hallworth is going to be on the inside through the next left-hander, and Hayden Ahmed in 10th position. Ahmed getting a much better launch this time. Here comes Matt Neal up the inside and has shoved Hayden Ahmed off the circuit at the old hairpin. What we actually noticed, Matt Neal slides and goes around. I was just about to say he is on dry tyres here. Demis Titcheler on the outside of Harry Hallworth, and Titcheler holds on to 9th position now. It's more behind. Hayden Ahmed overtaken by Matt Neal, showing the pace of those dry tyres if you can keep it facing the right way, and that's Matt Neal's challenge, as he needs to stay on the drier line around this circuit in order to stop his car spinning out. This time heading up towards the old hairpin. It was a little bit of kick out on the rear, but for the most part it was stable through there. Two drivers, let's have a look here. It is Pogue up the inside of Batchelor, forcing Batchelor onto the grass. That is why they swap positions. Here Scott Malcolm is side by side with Jan Mild, stuck on the outside though, and Mild is going to hold on to 16th position. It's top 15 that score points. So at the moment Mild just outside of the points position as Matt Neal makes another move there, trying to get past Harry Hallworth. These dry tyres, they could have been everything for Matt Neal, but they have been absolutely nothing, and he will fall down the order. Into the first turn as that's a slide from behind, as that is the 72 of Lewis Turkington, caught the water, and it sends the car into a spin. Neal stuck on the outside once more. That alternate line, not where he wants to be on the dry compounder tyres, as that's going to be Hayden Ahmed, slightly wide, and it's going to be contact with Neal. And on the dry tyres, that is going to be hard to hold, and he's down a couple of places. And through goes James Paisley Knight as well. It's 4 cars going for the lead. Stephen Hurd up the inside of Thomas Brown. Brown loses that position. Through goes Dan Mould, and here comes David Johansson to try and follow it through as well as we go up towards the final chicane. It's side by side between Brown and Mould. Mould on the inside, Mould getting pushed there by Johansson behind, but Brown doing everything he can to stay up the inside, and he holds that position, Mould and Johansson. Anything in the entrance of the corner, it does on the exit of the corner, however, as Matt Neal moves up, yes, another position. Thomas Batchelor is trying the outside line of Jack Burgess, but Burgess just able to hold it on the inside to fight along, and it's side by side with Burgess and Batchelor, and that is Batchelor deciding to back out. Through goes Heron as well, and here comes Riley Pogue up the inside. Pogue through past Batchelor into 7th position, tucks to the right hand side. That is now the two drivers running over the puddles on the inside line, and that's damage ahead. Who was that out? Thomas Brown in the fight for the win. Potential contact from behind and into the wall. David Johansson taking Thomas Brown out of the race. That position in this gaggle of cars. Ahmed passed Paisley Knight as well, actually, and that's a Paisley Knight now under attack with Hallworth and Neil behind. Neil still on those dry compounded tyres, started in fourth. It was a risk to try and go onto the dry compounded tyres. It did not pay out for him as he sits in 11th position right now. Between Hayden Ahmed on the outside and Titular on the inside. Titular makes that move. Paisley Knight now side by side with Matt Neal as they exit turn number 1. Ahmed is still side by side with Titular ahead as well. It's the two teammates in two separate battles side by side up towards the old hairpin. Ahmed is able to stick it up the inside of Titular though. Through that old hairpin, this can invite Matt Neal up the inside of Titular, and it does. Through goes Matt Neal, Paisley Knight side by side with Harry Hallworth now in the 97. The 97 of Hallworth around the outside as that was Hayden Ahmed off the circuit just up ahead, and there's major contact in Ahmed trying to get back onto the circuit there. Is it a nudge? It was a nudge up the inside that forced Ahmed off wide, and how did he come back on? Contact there, and just, it was the two drivers and the initial contact that went around, but it would be. But Stephen Hurd wins over Johansson over Mould. Burgess takes fourth. As the rest of the field follows, Dan Gregor Speakman gets past Matt Neal. Looks like Matt Neal has had some issues and is down and out of this race on those dry compounded tyres. But we come through the final turns now, and the race will come to an end. But round number 5 is a go here. We are green for race number 2 of the day. Some great launches from a number of drivers around. 4 launches from other drivers as we go down towards turn number 1. Johansson has had an absolutely flying start. And the front of this field is side by side between Hurd and Herod in second, and there's contact. And the leading 2 drivers out, well, second and third, go around, neither of them in that original bit of contact, but both of them down and around at the exit of turn number 1, up towards the old hairpin here. Jack Burgess has got a penalty in his car. He sits third right now, falling down the order actually on the outside as there's more contact. More drivers side by side as there's going to be forcing drivers off as this is Burgess getting past Poe. And Paisley Knight trying to get the inside. He's been involved in so many incidents lately. He's trying to get up the positions as there's more cars onto the grass behind, trying to settle themselves down. And another car around in the background, I believe. More cars, huge hits here towards the back of the field. The top 10 here. De Jong leading Ahmed. Mild flashing his lights onto the brakes. There's contact. And off goes Ahmed through the final chicane, and more cars around. This first lap has just been a state of survival fight going on ahead of him, and it's De Jong on the outside of Lewis Turkington, and De Jong and Turkington come together. Turkington runs off the circuit facing the wrong way. De Jong has got some damage on the front end but will return as Oliver Heron trying to get past Thomas Brown. He does so on the inside. Heron gets past Brown. Brown down to 9th now. Could there be contact with Alan Pritchard? Brown hoping to do better in this second race. Just remember that Brown has started from the rear of the field. He is up to 9th place right now. It is a crazy amount of position changes as Johansson got to the line fastest. Pritchard gets up the inside of Brown. There's the inevitable contact, but you can't really put that on Brown. Mild and Speakman are gonna, sorry, that is Speakman gonna get past. I think that is Mild there as well. Yes, it is, trying to make that move past, as well as Brown still on the inside as there's 4 wide behind. There's more contact up front, but somehow the 4 wide gets through relatively clean. Lights flashing in this one as this is Sam and Hayden Ahmed changing, and you can see the position changes there. Thomas Brown up 12, another car off onto the grass. That's Jan Mild. Manages to keep it going the right way and doesn't get in the way of anyone or come back on with any contact, so keeps that relatively clean. As Hayden Ahmed now in 13th position in this race, chasing down Thomas Batchelor and Neil back here, both of them on dry tyres, as Neil tries for a second race in a row to go onto the dries. and for a second race in a row, it's not quite going his way. He has moved up a few positions from his starting pole course, almost at the back of the field. Not quite for this one though, as it looks like that's going to be Jack Burgess looking up the inside of Lewis Turkington for 14th place, takes that one. Inside the top 5 is Harry Hallworth on the outside of James Paisley Knight. There's contact. Sorry, no, that was Pogue on the inside of Hallworth. I should say there's more contact as Hallworth is not happy with the initial bit there. That's Paisley Knight behind, looking to get involved and potentially take advantage of this fight between Pogue and Hallworth. Hurd gets past Mould as they are fighting it out up ahead as Pogue drops down the position. It's side by side for second here. Dan Mould up the inside of Stephen Hurd, up towards the braking zone now. Gets it heavy on the brakes into the final chicane. Mould moves up into second position. Sells out for the time being. That's Jack Burgess up the inside of Jack Sant himself, as there's contact with Sant, nudging him out the way there, but does make that move through and gets the position. Jack Sant now is down past Jack Burgess as Burgess bumped his way through. Can Stephen Hurd try to recover to get back into second position here? Side by side behind, Batchelor and Pritchard. Batchelor up the inside, Pritchard on the outside, looking for the switchback, but there's contact as Batchelor had to slow it down to keep it on the circuit. And here comes, that was, who is out the inside? It's a back marker, I think. There is a back marker up the inside there. That's the 23 of Daniel Crisp, who is a lap down in this race. Scott Malcolm side by side with Thomas Batchelor. Malcolm comes together. Malcolm holds it though in the number 74 machine. It's going to be side by side behind as well, but it's side by side between Brown and Ahmed. Brown up the inside of Hayden Ahmed here. This is for 11th position. And I believe that was more contact behind that we just heard there. Very possibly Thomas Batchelor getting involved in that one as well. And it is Thomas Brown who stays ahead as the other drivers come along. David Johansson has pulled a overtake on the inside of Jan Mild. That's the 13th position and he gets it. Jack Sant at the moment on the bubble for points, but that's not going to be there for long as Lewis Turkington gets up the inside. And Sant's retaliation there in that move. That was an intentional move across and trying to take him out, and I think we may see Jack Sant taken out by Lewis Turkington through the old hairpin. That was some extremely rough driving by Jack Sant. He has been the closest fight out there right now. Can Ahmed look for a way through? It is contact with Burgess up ahead. They go side by side to final chicane. Burgess wants to stay on track. There is contact and they remain scraping each other by here. They continue to scrape each other down towards turn number 1, and that's Thomas Brown trying to get involved in this one now. Up towards turn number 1. Through they go. Burgess going for the switch back, and there's contact from behind with Brown. Ahmed on the outer line. Through goes Burgess, and that's contact and a huge accident involving Hayden Ahmed. Thomas Brown off as well, and Matt Neal was involved in that one as well. Neal down and out of the race. This is Riley Pogue though, looking to make the move, but on the outside of Hallworth, and he slides and he takes out Hallworth completely unintentionally there, caught onto the grass. Last lap of asking with time calling it here. It was 9 laps of asking for David Johansson, who takes the checkered flag ahead of Dan Mould and Stephen Hurd, who is going to come around in the rest of the positions though, as Titchler does follow Paisley Knight across the line for 5th and 6th position. Asking could be 9 like it was in race number 1, limited on time that race. Off the line we go, and a poor launch already, and cars coming together as drivers slow off the launch, and that was expected as Turkington is turned. That was Lewis Turkington turned around. You could expect that. He was swerving all over the road at the start of that one, as there continues to be issues behind at the start of this race as drivers just caught up. As Turkington, he went around, well, he got a slow launch and he comes back on. Where is he coming back on? Lewis Turkington will not be seeing much more this series, that is for sure. The positions, this is now the mid part of the field. David Johansson started back in the field up to 13th already on this opening lap. Somehow has not been involved in too much of the issues we head up now towards the end of the lap, and there's more contact up ahead. That's Burgess looking up the inside of Stephen Hurd, and he does make that move. He's also looking up the inside of Harry Hallworth here. There's a nudge as they come up towards the chicane. They're going to hit the brakes here and through the final chicane, and it is going to be side by side behind Hurd and Hallworth. Hurd runs onto the gravel there, into the grass there. More position gained by the drivers. Thomas Batchelor here, contact with Jack Sands. Sands on the inside line will turn to the outside. Batchelor gets that position confirmed as he will have to sit behind right now, Sands, with Daniel Crisp potentially behind. Adam Turkinson off the track as well, also with issues. And we'll go for that move. Does get past Sands. Backs behind Batchelor, but Sant now back up the inside of Daniel Crisp. And those dry tyres seem to play on the way of Matt Neal here, who is pulling away from Hayden Ahmed. Jan Mild is on another driver on the dries along with Thomas Batchelor. That puddle's not going to help, and it's going to allow Stephen Hurd to get involved here. Hurd going for a win here after winning earlier on in the races. Can he go for a win again? As looking at Johansson start back of the field, he's up to 12th position at the moment. It's side by side here between Mild and Hurd. Hurd gets the inside, Mild on the outside, those dry lines. As we now come up towards the final chicane, it is going to be Mild on the outside line of Hurd. Now, this is interesting because they're running pretty similar paces here. There's contact. Another bit of a merge as Poe gets through to the old hairpin, and that was Riley Poe looking to try and get through as well. Now on the outside, Jack Burgess gets forced off the circuit. Contact with Burgess there, forcing Poe off the track, and that was Batchelor through and Mild through as well. And as you can see, these dry tyres are the tyres to be on in this third and final race. Thomas Batchelor, so much speed on the dries and flies past Stephen Hurd. But this is Burgess looking up the inside of Hurd up towards the final chicane. Burgess has got that inside line and will make the move through. On these dry tyres gets past Thomas Batchelor. Batchelor on the outside once more though. Batchelor and Mark both on dries. Johansson started the race on dries. He's up to 8th position right now in his recovery drive as well, and if I'm not mistaken, we're going to continue our streak of not having, as that's off the circuit was Batchelor, but he holds it somehow. A little bit of a nudge with Stephen Hurd on the exit. Hurd onto the glass, through goes Jan Mild. Mild looking now to get out the inside of Batchelor. That's Johansson on the outside of teammate Stephen Hurd, and it's the two teammates now side by side, but Johansson goes through in this race. Johansson getting past Jan Mild on the outside and looks towards the inside of Burgess as Johansson, huge contact with Jack Burgess there past Ronald de Jong, goes to the inside. Those dry tyres working well, and finally we see a good overtake that's done cleanly, but this is Johansson trying to get involved, and it's going to be 3 wide, and Johansson comes from behind to try and get the inside, but it was just on the damp side there. And on the dry compound tyres, he runs off the circuit. Here comes Jan Mild on the right-hand side of the circuit now. They go 3 wide up towards the chicane. Jan Mild has got significant overlap though. Mild up to 4th, but for a moment, because Johansson goes deep on the brakes and takes 4th away from Mild. De Jong now under attack from Stephen Hurd on the exit of the final chicane. They go across the line, and Hurd will take 6th place past de Jong. Both of those drivers on dry tyres. Stephen Hurd is just behind, and that is going to be de Jong up the inside of Jack Burgess. Burgess goes sideways for the umpteenth time today, and here comes Paisley Knight to get through, and that's a back marker separating them at the moment. That gap dropped before. De Jong at the back of this train of drivers at the moment, side by side with Paisley Knight. Paisley Knight is to the outside. It will turn to the inside through the old hairpin. And through he goes, and that remains to be a back marker in front of him, that blue and pink machine. But De Jong going for the speed on the exit around the outside of Paisley Knight here. But once again will turn towards the inside line. 30 seconds on the board. Will we get on to the 10th lap of asking as De Jong is up the inside of Paisley Knight. Paisley Knight holds it with speed on the outside. Burgess off the to the grass. Just a little bit ahead. De Jong back up the inside of Paisley Knight as they've been side by side for almost the entire lap. Let's settle themselves down as Johansson now looks to get past Hayden Ahmed. We are going on to the white flag lap. Just one more to go, and David Johansson is going to try and get past Hayden Ahmed for third position. It should be a nice easy move around that outside line. These dry tyres are the ones to be on. Batchelor has closed the gap between himself and Neil. He could be out of fuel here. Here comes Thomas Batchelor. But no, it looks like he just has enough fuel here. Formation finish for the two teammates, Matt Neal and Thomas Batchelor at the front. Johansson takes third ahead of Ahmed, who just keeps ahead of Jan Mild at the end of that one. Stephen Hurd will come home sixth. Who will take seven? It's Burgess, but Paisley Knight has had a great exit, but there's contact. Paisley Knight not being able to go for the move because the back marker getting involved in that one with contact.